Thom Hartmann here on the news. You need to know this. The Gang of 12 Super Congress is a super failure. Talks collapsed over the weekend, and members of the Gang of 12, entrusted with finding $1.2 trillion in budget savings, are saying that any sort of deal is highly unlikely at this point. The Wall Street Journal reported on Friday that the sticking point of negotiations had become the Bush tax cuts for millionaires and what to do with them after they expire at the end of the year, of next year. While Democrats were pushing for the generous tax breaks to expire for millionaires and billionaires, Republicans were pushing for a permanent extension of the rich, for the rich, and more tax cuts for the super rich. So despite the fact that Democrats on the Gang of 12 put on the table heavy-handed cuts to entitlement programs like Medicare and Medicaid and drastically reduced their proposals for more revenue, Republicans still could not meet them halfway, siding with their unelected demigod, Grover Norquist, against what's best for the nation. Now the trigger is supposed to kick in, which is $1.2 trillion in automatic cuts both to social welfare programs and defense programs. But Republicans are already trying to dismantle the trigger with legislation expected to drop this week to strip defense cuts from the trigger. That means Republicans will walk away from this whole deal on top, not being forced to raise any taxes and not having to see any cuts to their billionaire war profiteer buddies. Now the question is, were Republicans ever faithful bargainers to begin with? Or was this the way the plan was supposed to work all along? All the way back to when Speaker of the House John Boehner said he got 98% of what he wanted in the debt limit deal that created this Gang of 12 Super Congress. Who's screwed? American patriots practicing their First Amendment rights to free speech. 2 campus police officers with the University of California, Davis are on paid administrative leave after videos surfaced over the weekend of them dousing a group of occupying patriots sitting peacefully on the sidewalk with a can of pepper spray. In addition, calls on campus are growing for the chancellor of the university, Linda Katte, to resign since she was the one who ordered the police to break up the occupation. She has since apologized and has promised an investigation into the use of excessive force. Meanwhile, cops patrolling the Occupy Boston encampment are hoping the weather will finish off the Patriots in Beantown. In the last few days, as temperatures dropped, police have been confiscating materials like insulation and winterized tents. As one member of Occupy Boston said about the police, they're trying to cause people to freeze, they're trying to flush us out. On top of that, D.C. lobbying firms are now getting into the game. A leaked memo from a lobbying group outlines a plan to destroy the Occupy Wall Street movement with opposition research and negative narratives for the small price tag of only $850,000 to be paid for by the American Bankers Association. When it comes to the 99% movement, free speech is literally being chilled. In the best of the rest of the news, violent clashes continue in Egypt as activists take to the streets to demand the military relinquish its grip on power. So far, at least 24 people have died in clashes with security forces. According to Egyptian state television, the military is justifying their violent crackdown against protesters by pointing out how police in the United States are responding to the Occupy Wall Street movement. As one television anchor on Egyptian television said, quote, "We saw the firm stance the U.S. police took against the OWS people," end quote. Not the sort of example we want to be setting for the rest of the world. Retirement is a bygone luxury. With the social safety net in tatters, more and more senior citizens have to delay plans to retire. According to a new survey by Wells Fargo, 3/4 of senior citizens who earn less than $100,000 said they need to work well into the retirement years to keep afloat, with 1/4 saying they'll probably need to work till they're 80. Based on the latest census data, 16% of senior citizens in America now live in poverty. In addition, the number of children living in poverty increased by 1 million last year. They say you can judge the success of a society by how it treats its old and its young. We're failing on both accounts. And forget about the job market opening up for young people, with the elderly hanging onto their positions. Those working around the clock to recall Wisconsin State Governor Scott Walker now have to worry about their own safety. According to police, several Walker opponents have received death threats in the middle of the night and had political signs in front of their homes vandalized or stolen. Some of the threatening police calls seem to be coordinated, with a phone number linked back to Minnesota. Despite the threats, organizers announced that they're already 1/5 of the way to collecting enough signatures to recall Walker, with more than 100,000 people already signing on to recall petitions. And finally, a new poll by Reuters shows that it's Newt Gingrich's turn in the spotlight. He now leads the Republican field of the race for the White House with 24% of the vote. Mitt Romney's in his usual second-place position. Gingrich's surge on the polls comes in the heels of a new report that he earned millions of dollars as a lobbyist for Freddie Mac while the housing bubble was being inflated. Undeterred, Gingrich gave a speech over the weekend at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government where he called child labor laws stupid. Gingrich then offered up a radical proposal for schools to fire unionized janitors and instead put poor students to work cleaning the buildings. That leaves lots of time to study and produce world-class educational outcomes, right? I guess as a frontrunner, Gingrich now has to prove that when it comes to the race to the bottom that is the Republican primary, he's in it to win. Plus, with all the new campaign donations, Newt can open up a second line of credit at Tiffany's. And that's the way it is today, Monday, November 21st, 2011. I'm Thom Hartmann on the news.